There we go. We are live, or we should be, after all that shenanigans. Sorry about that, everybody. In YouTube land, absolutely my fault. I think I locked myself into some sort of weird podception by scheduling a stream, but then pressing go live, but not in the scheduled stream section of the supermarket. So it was like, I don't know, I got a bit lost in the sauce there for a minute. But we're here now.
We are here indeed. Yeah. Welcome
Oodied
back,
up to the
everybody.
max.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
It's
listeners, me and Beebs are wearing Oodies right now because it is cold as all balls in the UK at the minute.
well, I mine was by sort of lazy and not time to change. Dan chose to do it. But
You were born in the
so
Ood,
I
molded
was,
by it.
yeah. No, I remember from the last couple of episodes, people were commenting or sending messages saying they don't know who we are and getting mixed up on voices and things. So now this partly because we're doing this on video now, so we forget to take care of the audio housekeeping. So um, yeah, my name's David Beebe, and with me is Dan Smith.
Hello, I am the Mank one.
Dan's the Manc one. I'm across the Pennines and the West Yorkshire one. Although, am I really? I don't know, because I've lived in Leeds for 25 years, but I was born in Birmingham in the West Midlands, and Dan, as Dan now knows, when I get really tired or excited, I
Or
start
a
to
couple of
sound like
whiskies
I'm
in you.
from. That's it. I start to sound like I'm from Birmingham again.
Uh,
um,
for
yeah, cool.
the for
Welcome back,
the
everyone.
for the if you're trying to place the accent, if anybody's seen Peaky Blinders, that's set in Birmingham. It's
It
basically
is.
that.
I've never seen it. It's supposed to be good, isn't it?
You've never seen Peaky Blinders? They're your people.
Well,
It's like me not watching
I don't.
Shameless or Coronation Street.
Or not listening to Oasis or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had a couple of weeks break from the pod. I think for various reasons. I think we've all been incredibly busy again, but we're back. Dan and I, I'm about to be incredibly busy again, but Dan and I are just firing this one into the can. Got quite a lot to talk about, really. It's uh, Jake's on a show. Tom's just yesterday or today got back from South America, heavily jet lagged. It's just Dan and I, and yeah. So the last couple of weeks really, it's been pretty full on. So yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think, which is why probably we weren't doing an episode 2 weeks ago. My dad had quite a big heart attack, and that's kind of threw everything into action, sort of family, like real life wise. So he's not great at all, but he's hanging in there and having a double bypass this Friday. So after this is wrapped up, I'm tomorrow morning driving down to Leicester to the hospital and just to hang around there for a few days while he's having that done. Um, so there's that kind of thing, like real life in the way of everything. um, yeah, and then thankfully gigging is really quiet. I've had to dep a few out in order to cover get out of the in order to be around for the operation. But generally gigs are quiet at the moment. But then last week, I'd got booked to go back to Budapest to go and collect my baby.
Yeah.
So this had been over at the workshop in February to kind of measure, scan, take pictures and everything for the small batch run that we're doing next year of this sort of S type Roadmaster in Lake Garda Blue. So Chubberoods a rough cut the 8 of the next. We're going to do 8 of them. Originally I thought it was 5, but we didn't. There's going to be 8, and yeah, so that was really cool to see. It's got some really old stock, well dried, super nice maple that he's using for all the necks. That was really cool to see.
Are they going to be numbered?
And
So is someone going to get BB-8 like Star Wars?
yeah, not well. There'll be serial numbered, but I don't know about the.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah. um, what else is it? So, oh yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk more about Budapest in a bit because Dan was there with me. And other than that, I've been just trying to, spinning so many plates, just hammering the content stuff. Just trying to, shoot more videos. You did get several videos shot in Budapest in the apartment. And yeah, making content for that, YouTube, Instagram, etc. Um, and yeah, the other thing which I've not really talked about yet on the podcast, because I've not, it's been a bit of a soft launch. Was just starting just a simple one-tier Patreon for all my kind of additional YouTubey stuff. So in the past, I was putting stuff up on Dropbox, and like tabs, transcriptions, presets, that kind of thing, backing tracks. And so it was getting a little bit difficult to manage, and then the links would invariably expire or get deleted and whatnot. So I started a simple Patreon, and yeah, it's just where I'm going to throw all that stuff now. So all my device presets, captures, backing tracks, licks, and the odd lesson, things like that. So if you're interested in just supporting that, what I'm doing on YouTube, and yeah, it'd be much appreciated to check that out. So yeah. Um, Anything else to say? I don't think so. So Dan, how are you?
I'm all right. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's like usually it's catch up, but me and you spent 3 days in Budapest,
Yeah.
having a romantic, dirty weekend or whatever, whatever it's called.
It was a
But
whirlwind 48 hours
oh,
in
it's so
Budapest
good.
with
It's
Dan
like
and
it's like
Beebs.
travel, man. You know what I mean? 48 hours in Budapest.
Well,
Um,
I'd already gone out because I'd booked this quite a while ago, or as soon as I got back from the other month, when I realized I was going to have to go back to pick this up. I'd booked it straight away, so I was kind of locked in. Dan was a little bit touch and go as to whether you're going to want to come out. So I was already out there for 3 days. Then you came out to join me, and it was, yeah, it was really good fun. Really good to hang out, and yeah, a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of chat, and yeah, hanging out with the Fibonacci guys. Yeah.
yeah, man, I had a great time. It's actually my first time out. Well, out of the country into Europe. Like I've been to I've done a couple of gigs in like Northern Ireland and stuff. But probably I think is my first time out of the country into Europe on a plane since pre-COVID. I think. Because the band used to play in France quite a lot, but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
after the whole Brexit thing, that it's not really viable now. Or there's like so much paperwork, and it's just the band used to play in Europe quite
Yeah.
a bit, but it's just not really. There's all these
Get
crazy
the
rules
instruments
now.
confiscated. I think that's
Yeah,
part
it's
of the
just
deal, isn't it? In there.
get handcuffed to a lamppost in Eindhoven and take all your stuff. So yeah, it was really good. It was really good. Weird weird flight out in a way because I bumped into somebody that I know who's a drummer that was on the same flight as me, also going to Budapest. And then there was a girl sat in front of me that I'd done a gig with previously as well, and it was like, what is happening? What is happening? And then there was the whole Scouse stag do thing on the way out, which was its own adventure. But it was good, man. It was really good. I've come back feeling quite sort of inspired and motivated because I've not seen Chubba since uh, probably New York, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that
That's what
2019?
we worked out. That was
Is that what we said?
2019. Yeah, that was the last Rudy's thing that we did pre-COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, so probably not seen
Yeah,
him since then. So like, what's that, like 5 years, pretty much?
yeah,
And obviously, like no time had passed. He drives up, pulls up in his little car with his cheeky smile on, just well happy to see everybody. They we were treated very nice by him and his lovely wife. Got goulash. He did bring out the palinka. You were like, oh, I don't think he'll do it. And then boom,
well, he does. He
straight
hasn't done
away.
it to me in the last few times, but yeah, there was his father-in-law's Palinka.
It's just Hungarian
It's,
moonshine.
yeah, it's
Oh man.
handmade guitars, handmade liquor.
Yeah, yeah. You know what?
Man,
I
it
didn't
is
even think, but
hardcore
it's
stuff.
it is big time. It is like I was like, and the thing is, you want to be polite, So you can't turn down the first one. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have one, and then maybe you go, all right, okay, for the second one, and you could probably turn down the third one, but you can't say no at the beginning. You just gotta do it because it'll probably seem rude or something. But yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I've come back, a changed man, kind of thing. I think I'd realised there's probably musicians either listening or watching at some point that do the usual kind of teaching and gigging, the kind of bread and butter musician thing to get by or whatever. I think I'd misread kind of how small my life had got, really. Like I say, not being out of the country for that long and just kind of bouncing around different jobs and gigs and stuff, which is all good stuff, and I'm grateful to have work, like being able to support myself just basically playing guitar. That in itself is a win. If we're doing the gratitude thing,
I mean,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
So I'm not by any means dogging on any of the things that I do. But it was really nice to do something for myself off the clock, in a different place where even, the buildings are exciting. Bumping into trying to speak French badly to French people in a quote unquote rock bar after a nail in the coffin pint of liquid cocaine. It's like, yeah, it was good. It makes me realize I need to do that thing more, because it was like 3 days. It's very easily done. You've just got to kind of maybe a bit more planning next time perhaps, but it's not, it doesn't like people think about going away and you think it's got to be this big like 2 week 2 weeks in Disneyland 5-year plan kind of thing. It doesn't have to be. You can just be like, oh, I'm just gonna hop on a plane and nip over there for a little bit. So
we live very close to some great places in Europe. That's the cool thing, and it's and thanks to what's his chops and budget airlines, we can block out that carbon footprint guilt and get there relatively affordably and easily. So yeah, it's great. I mean, I love the place. Yeah, Budapest, it's a cracking city, and yeah, Europe in general. I think Sarah and I were in Italy, southeast Italy through the summer, for a holiday together, and that was yeah, really great, sort of similar sort of thing, just like new experiences, new places. Also, the good thing about that is, and I'm really guilty of this, is it was completely guitar free. I didn't have a guitar with me, so like that's like really healthy thing sometimes.
yeah, man,
Because
big time.
even though I hate it, because I talked to John Cordy about this, and he's like he takes his guitar to the toilet with him to film a video. So it's but it's like this thing about being this, sometimes when you're away from it, it's a real, for me it can be a real like pain. It's like mental psychological pain, and then I sort of worry about my sort of atrophy in terms of playing whatnot. But it's is also really important to get some kind of enforced break from it. Um, yeah. Um, Even though I might not want to, I think it does the world of good for something that's. It's so hard, isn't it? Because even that we were on, we had a great time. We were in Budapest, and largely, when you got there, I turned the cameras off and put things away, and we did largely have sort of 48 hours of just guitar. Well, I say that, but then we were at the workshop for 7-8 hours, and it's all guitar again. So that's what I mean. Like, even I think, talk to Sarah about this, and the guitar playing friends, and it's even sometimes when I think I'm having a break, even when I feel like I'm having a break, it's not really. It's just everything's still going on up here. So sometimes like having the guitar like ripped away, and not with me is, yeah, I think it's probably a positive thing sometimes.
Yeah, man, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I think that's perhaps, we did we kind of weighed in on the rut thing and the motivation thing a little while back. I think maybe that's something that's potentially should have been mentioned. Like, it's okay to just be like, I'm just going to step away for a minute and put my focus somewhere else. And then you probably get the itch back rather than trying to manufacture the itch. You know what I mean? It's
Well, I
kind of
think
like,
that's yeah. Mm.
you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, but I think, like I say, it was almost the opposite, really, for me, in a way, Budapest, because I've been sort of out of that sphere, I guess, a little bit. I say that, but we're doing a guitar podcast, but like I said, I've not seen Chuba in ages. I've not been to a NAMM show in, well, probably since 2019. Um, so it was nice to sort of be loosely back in a shade of that world again for a little bit. But it's been good. I've come back and started a couple of little routines, which should be good. We'll see where that goes. But I've toyed. I spoke to you about this. I've toyed with the idea of like looking towards a Patreon thing a little bit in the future, but there's a bit of startup to it, and I just need to work it out in my head to make it like manageable, because I do worry about potentially kicking something like that off, and then with the other things I need to do is not fulfilling my promise, if you see what I mean. And it's a strange thing because there's some people that don't even really make a promise with the Patreon thing. They just put it up, and then tabs or things will just turn up on there when they turn up on there, or it's more of a just a way to support the creator. Like some people have like the $1 tier, don't they, where it's like, I'm not promising anything. This is it's like buy me a coffee or whatever. So that's something that may or may not be on the horizon. If anyone hears this and is like, yeah, you should do that, then please let me know, because all the motivation for that kind of thing, I'll take all I can get, really.
Having just having an outlet to where to dump something that maybe you're going to be doing anyway is probably a good way to think of it. Or that's kind of maybe eases some of the load.
Well, if you think about
if you're
any video
creating
that you put,
something,
any
yeah,
video where you put a tab on screen or something, you have those tabs in one, on one thing, as opposed to like, you get a tab, you convert it to PNG or whatever, and then you stick it on your video. People can actually have the whole thing there, print it off, do whatever they want to do. So I guess those materials are there. You're basically giving people everything but the actual raw footage, in a way.
Well,
You know what I mean?
if
you
like
make a track,
doing
you can do the tabs.
Yeah, like the video content itself is either be it either on YouTube or on like this right now, or on Instagram, whatever it is. Like that is the kind of thing that's going out into the world, and the other stuff that supports it is just I think that's the stuff I was doing anyway, just linking up on Dropbox, and that's just getting a bit logistically not manageable, and then it seemed a bit daft. Well, for those people that want to support, then that's just a way to sort of help monetize it, and maybe grow it a bit. So,
Yeah.
but it's definitely I don't feel like within my workflow of making videos and stuff, it doesn't feel like it's anything other than doing the bigger transcriptions, which I'm trying to get faster. And even that has definitely become faster over the last couple of months. It's doesn't feel
just
like
transcribing your own stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So what I've been tend to be doing is so licks and things are easy and fine, but I've also been just transcribing my intro solos, or jams or outro solos. Not all of them, but some the ones that I find interesting, or the ones that I liked or enjoy. So part of the process as well, just some of you guys have not seen the videos, what I've been doing is in order to keep the overhead and the workflow sort of streamlined and not obsess, is to limit myself to a maximum of 10 takes. This is for my sort of opening kind of solo and play. and it often doesn't get that high at all. It's usually around 6 or 7, but that's what the maximum. And uh, but I always I film them all. So what happens is I choose my favorite one out of the whatever it is, and then at the end of the video, I'm always going to put the first take. So feel like I kind of get the sort of happy medium of both worlds of like these are, you know, starts off very improvised solo, completely improvised, and then it maybe is coalesced over several takes into a few ideas to get something I'm happy with. Um, so I show that, put that first with me with all my makeup on. um, and then at the end of the video, like tag that on with some camera audio of like the very first take. And I'm really enjoying that because it feels like I'm getting the best of both worlds in terms of presenting my playing. Um, anyway, the reason I bring that up is because what I've been doing is either the intro or the outro, and I'm just transcribing that, and and that's kind of good for my own playing and my own sort of skills anyway. But that's part of the stuff I'm doing, and that initially was taking a bit too long. But other than that, it's the only thing I've kind of got. I've had to work on sort of getting the time thing down. Everything else, really, it's just I've made a track anyway. I made a backing track anyway. I've made the presets anyway, or I've made the captures. So it's just might as well just stick it on there, and
How do you
it's
find
just stuff.
transcribing yourself? Because I think I've done it in the past, and I think I've done it in the past from like an audio thing or something, or maybe it was a video where it wasn't like a clear video, and I found myself going, "No, I wouldn't have played that." You know what I mean? When I'm trying to listen, if the audio's not great, kind of like, or I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I do that all the time," and then it's like you've got like a whole bar for free because you're like, "I know exactly what I'm gonna do." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like little ticks or habits.
that's that's probably more like it. The thing about I was saying this to you in Budapest, wasn't I? About the thing is like when the shredding is actually relatively straightforward. That's very quick to do because um like any transcribing like rhythmically, because for the most part when I'm playing quick, it's either 16th notes, 30-second notes, 16th notes, triplets. Um, I'm not. It's rare that I'm sort of cramming 13 notes into a beat in that kind of a thing, and
It's
like
the
so
sort
I
of
kind of
gridded
have a
legato thing, isn't it?
yeah,
As
that's
opposed to
it,
like the
yeah. So and
Satriani or Van Halen kind of thing.
yeah. Although that's really interesting. Though there's been a couple of occasions where, and this is why it's really good for my playing, is because when I have then gone and transcribed it, what I think was gridded, I'll actually have made a mistake. I'll have fucked up, and or my not in that it's bad. It still sounds cool and it's good, but it's like, oh, that was different to my intention. So that's
Mm.
answering your question about. So I might launch an idea and it is say 30-second notes or starts in whatever 16 triplets and moves to 30-second notes. But then when I actually transcribe it, because I've not really nailed my there's some imperfections slipping in, or I've not really nailed my intention. When I actually transcribe it, it might be that the 7 notes in one beat, and my index finger is like either lazily, either over eager jumped or lazily not gone. And so there might be 7 in one and 9 in the other. So there's little things like that where I catch myself, and then that gives me like a microscope and magnifying glass to sort of go and look at why did that happen in that improvised context, and like what was it about that lick that I wasn't in control of. So that's really
Mm.
useful for that side of things. But by and large, if like something's come together pretty, well, I know it's going to be that kind of, for the fast stuff, it's going to be um, gridded in one sense, either,
Mm.
you know, 30 seconds or 16ths or triplets. Um, but the thing that takes the time, the thing that takes the time is like just notating bends or the phrasing, the kind of sort of feelsy phrasing, that kind of thing. I find that, and it's not that I can't, I can write it down on manuscript. I'm certainly proficient at like the actual musical side of it. It's like the fighting with Guitar Pro to actually figure out how do I get this into the software. That's what takes the time for me when I'm sort of transcribing like bend articulations, phrasing, all that kind of stuff. I need to get faster at that. That's
Yeah,
the only thing that sort of slows it down.
the bends thing is quite tricky in there, especially if you do something really nuanced. You know what I mean? If you're doing like a full tone bend, bang on the beat, that's fine. But if you start doing weird stuff where it's like you do like a bend up a bit and then you let it down and then bend up again, and it's like maybe it's like slightly laid back as well. You're like, oh my god. There's some stuff that's just I've done stuff in the past where I have written basically I've written the sort of line or the portion of the line out, and then I've just put text above the top that says lay back because it's like it sort of doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the or if you did write out that it did fit, it'd look mental. So it's kind of like
Yeah, there is.
we've talked about this before with like writing stuff down. It's like you're almost writing stuff down to be read. Do you know what I mean? It's like because what's the point of writing it down otherwise? So it needs to be readable and be as close as possible to the intention without it being really unreadable. You know what I mean? If you ever take like like a easy drummer, like an easy drummer thing, which is played quite well, they are played by humans, I think, with like sample pads, and then they make it into MIDI, I think, and like export
the
export
MIDI's
it.
played in.
Yeah, you export it, and then try and open it in something like Sibelius. It, my God, because it is not quantized because it's human. So you try and put it into another bit of software or whatever. It's like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? If something's not perfectly played and then you try and put it onto notation, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, that's huge. Like trying to making something that is readable, legible, and makes musical sense as to your intention is way more important than having it like because like at the very sort of micro it breaks down like notation sort of starts to fail at the very micro unless you're going to be so anal about it that it then becomes sort of like it's like you're missing the forest for the trees, if you want to get super super like what tick am I going to go down to with my hemi demi semi hemi blemmy
Yeah,
quavers
exactly.
to get this and so sometimes there's like a choice to make like am I going to phrase this bend with the notation, am I going to show the rhythmic information of the bend with the rhythm and the bends, or am I going to like sort of assume it inside of the just the up and down thing? So up and the arrow. Um, yeah, am I going to show the speed of the bend, how quickly the apex of it, I get to the apex of it, or not? So there is choices to make sometimes, um, and that's what kind of sort of takes the time, and I perhaps need to get better at being able to wrestle with the software. If anyone's got any like uh, tips or suggestions for notations, is everyone just still using Guitar Pro these days? Is that what everybody's still using, or is there anything
That's what
better?
I use for tabs. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm on version 7. Was it up to? Is it up to 8 now?
Yeah, it's on 8, I think. I'm on 7 or 7.5 or something, and it keeps. I should probably upgrade it just to be. Um, yeah, there's some. It's not. It is what it is, isn't it? It's like it's what everybody uses, but there's certainly
Are
some
there
could be
alternatives? I
some
don't
room
even
for
know.
improvement. That's why I'm asking. That's what I'm saying. I'm throwing it out there
Right.
to any of the listeners or viewers. As it could it be that things have moved on? People are not using it anymore. I don't know.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think they have because you go on websites and people have like Guitar Pro files for stuff. If I feel like
Yeah.
if there was
Well,
another
it's just
leading competitor
yeah.
or another option, I would have seen it by now. But there's probably some underground tab software somewhere. Although I've seen people posted stuff and I don't, and it's like it's tabbed out and I sort of don't recognize. It could be that they've just done it, I don't know, in Sibelius or something, and it's just got a particular house style or something on it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen it. I mean, on the subject of this, if you guys listening or watching or whatever, don't have some sort of tablature software, writing things out is actually really, really good for you musically, especially your rhythms and stuff. You know what I mean? If you're wanting to potentially make the leap into reading music or whatever at any point, I think writing tabs out,
Yeah.
it's quite it'll take like I say, well, it will take a while. Well, you've got a couple of things. One, it'll take a while at first if you're not used to figuring out the specific rhythms and writing those down. But then you've got to, like most things, whether it be recording audio or video editing or using software, you're only as fast as your skills to use the software. The barrier between you and your creativity is how well you can use the thing, which is why when I switched to DaVinci from Premiere, I was like, oh, I've got to relearn all the things I used to be able to do, and I don't know where anything is anymore. But yeah,
it's such a barrier to entry if you are, because there's two layers to it, isn't there? There's the musical side of the sort of skill of being able to transcribe and write something down if you had a piece of paper and a pen, which is one thing, and then there's the other sort of technical side of like how you might get around a piece of software to sort of get that, what's the word, engraved. I think that's the technical word, is it, for people that are just sort of engraving. Yeah. So, but I think just sort of overall, I'm really I'm really enjoying the process of just regularly making stuff, and um, it's just something else to sort of sink my teeth into, sort of creatively, professionally, potentially, and yeah,
it's good, man. You're inspiring me.
yeah, cool, good
It's,
stuff.
Like I say, I'm getting in from like the teaching gig, and then I'm just coming straight into the office, switching the PC on, and then doing 2 or 3 hours of something in here, to kind of make it up to kind of office hours throughout the day, if you see what I mean. Rather than sort of clocking off early and then not quite doing much or whatever, or taking care of something else. So yeah, I've got a couple of things in the works, but it's not
nice.
the weather to be. It's not the temperature to be making stuff. You know what I mean? It's so cold in here.
We had 6 inches of snow last night. The night before.
Oh
like
yeah.
6. It was bonk. It was like I think it's the deepest snow it's been since we've lived in this house. It was proper. Yeah.
Will sound very British to any sort of Europeans or people that live in places that actually properly snow.
Yeah.
It's not really snowed here. I mean, there was a bit on the grass and on the cars yesterday, but that was that really. But anyway, moving on to more.
That was the other thing about.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. As you said, that was the other thing about Budapest. It tricked me again because I was there at the end of September and it was like 22, 23 degrees. It was like proper warm. And then 5 weeks later, it was -2. It was just... So I'd not gone. So sent Dan a message before he came out saying bring a coat because I'd not really gone prepared.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do the very British thing of like getting off the plane in like a Hawaiian shirt and flip flops, full of extortionate Heinekens. It's like hello Hungary. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
Oh yeah, I was going to say moving on to more guitar-y specific stuff. When I got to Budapest, you had just wrapped, I guess, on a video, which came out today, which was very cool. But using the new Nano Boy, which I thought it sounded really good. Yeah. And you've kind of, I don't know if you've changed your tune on it, but I don't know if would you call yourself a fanboy now, or what? Where's your where do you stand?
Yeah, so here it is. I did pick up. So the original plan was to get a Nan for that first trip for traveling with in September. It didn't arrive in time, and I was traveling, so I didn't, and I held off specifically getting it until I knew I was going to be going back, so I could put it through its paces in the real world. Like actually for its intended purposes, or for the purposes that I have for this kind of a device. So, which is for traveling, for hotel rooms. I'm going to be in a Premier Inn for 4 days while my dad's in hospital, so I'm going to be taking it down for that. Um, so that's when I'm doing gigs and I'm traveling or doing clinics and things wherever, and then it's really useful for just traveling. Um, so that's the intended purposes for it. I would say that um, I'd absolutely say that I really really like this. I'm still like not to be convinced by the quad cortex. I th-
All right.
the for yeah. So I'm gonna say I'm a fanboy. I think I'm still very much a fractal fanboy. If you had to gun to my head and say you can only take one to the desert island, it would still be the FM3. Um, but I am very, very enamored with the capture process, um, the captures and the capture process on the neural. I think the captures on the Tonex are incredible, but I've yet to be able to do it myself successfully. So I've got the third party and premium Tonex captures, and they are truly stunning. Some of those, the Satriani Vault pack, the ODS Legends pack, they are genuinely incredible. Um, but whenever I've tried to capture anything with Tonex myself, it's just a very difficult process, and I've never got anything successful yet. I'm going to keep trying still, but it's really not worked for me. Whereas with the neural stuff, maybe it's like not quite as good. The end results not quite as good. I don't know as the Tonex in terms of the capture quality, but it's still damned impressive and it's easy to do. It's super easy to do with both quad cortex and the nano cortex. So yeah, I mean, my suspicion was that this seemed like a more focused, uh, clear like use case. And yeah, despite the marketing efforts, it's definitely it's some appealed to me a lot. One of the most impressive things is how rock solid it is with the app on the phone. I know Jake was talking about that being something he was really not a fan of, and I totally can sympathize and understand some of those thoughts and concerns. However, given the fact that it does use the app, it has been 100% reliable, rock solid. So impressive. Given given that even the quad cortex wired connection to the desktop editor of a USB is a bit flaky at times and crashes and reboots the software. The actual Nano Cortex app and Bluetooth connection is just absolutely perfect. Which is really impressive. And again, compared to things like the UA effects and other Bluetooth um, app things where pedals connect to apps are pretty dodgy. And basically, I've just loaded up. It's really, but I've got a video coming out soon about the Nano in detail. But the sort of nutshell is that whilst it's limited in its signal chain and its number of effects, what it does do, it does really, really well. And I think that's what's kind of cool about it. It's not over promising and under delivering this time. Like with the quad, I think that's very much over promising and under delivering. And still to this day, it's not, delivering on what it was promising in the very beginning. But with the nano cortex, it's just hitting everything that it's claiming to do, and it's doing it really well. Um, and so by just throwing off some of the captures I've done of the Brown Eye and the Morgan and the Fender on there, building basic presets. It's just, yeah, really, really cool. Really, really great sounding unit. And the other thing I was talking to Dan about is whilst I was out in Budapest, it's got this second input for doing the capturing process because the Nano will do captures itself. But you can hijack that second input instead and put a lav mic in there and then use it to record videos with. So it's just like as a complete self-contained interface capturing thing. I could put my guitar in, put my lav mic in, record the two separate tracks, reamp it if I wanted to later on. Yeah, it's really really cool use case. And it's powered over USB as well. So you cut down on the sort of additional cables and power supplies. So yeah, I'm overall very impressed with it. It's got room for improvement, and I hope they do. I hope they kind of stand by it and increase the rate of updates to it. But yeah, that's overall thoughts at the moment. Is it's nice to play, sounds good, feels good. It's tiny. It's Yeah, I think that's it for now.
Sweet.
Mm.
We'll see where it goes. Because I was talking to you about it, but I'm not sure if I have the need for one currently. 'Cause it's one of those things where these things are nice to have, but you get the most out of them if you're in certain situations. Um,
Mm.
like on the go content creation or hotel room stuff or whatever, or you
Mm.
could absolutely, use it live as well in a certain scenario, depending if you're in one of those scenarios where it's like a silent stage scenario, you know what I mean? Like you're not allowed amps and things. But we will see. I'll be interested to see where it goes as a
Mm.
thing, because I don't want to say it's like fully formed because there's places where it can go, but like how different is the quad cortex to when it first came out?
Uh,
Because
well, that's kind of the precedent.
all I hear from Neural is with the marketing and stuff, or it's a lot about new like archetype things and new like plugins and things like that.
Mm.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Mm.
know. I don't own one, so I don't know. But yeah, how like obviously the Helix is, it gets updated with a new roster of. Um, what I do
Yeah.
like about the Helix thing is, have you ever played Pro Evo Soccer? It's basically like not
No.
FIFA. So so obviously FIFA as a football game, they have all the official names of players and stuff. And then there's a game called Pro Evolution Soccer, and they didn't have the license to the proper names, so it'd be like, it'd be an old Manchester United team, and it'd have like, Davis Peckham. It's like one of the player names, and I kind of like that. The sort of the app models and stuff on the Helix. Kind of, I don't think they're probably legally not allowed to call them what they are, but we all know what they are. But they have like these other names.
Mm.
I enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, Helix came out with a new update yesterday, actually, or was it today before?
Yeah,
A
I've
few
not
new
done it
apps
yet.
and things.
I need to
Um,
get on that. Cody's already
yeah,
posting about it, the lad.
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the
Um,
shower when the update happened, and he'd already brought a video out before he got out of the shower.
that's it. Yeah. I think they're different in that they're almost two companies, um, in one. Like with everyone else, I think like Line Six, Fractal, they're like, even if they do make software and hardware, it's one company doing the thing. Whereas it definitely feels like with Neural, there's the plugin company and then there's the hardware company. Now, obviously, the initial thing was promise was that plugins will run on the hardware on the quad cortex. Um, but even that being the case, they've still made noises that they are two sides of the same coin, but very much two different sides. So you definitely have seen over the last 4 years since the release of the quad, like a lot of focus on plugins still. It's the core of the
Mm.
business. It's effectively, I guess, it's printing money so much of the time. And so I can totally see it from a quad cortex owner's perspective, where you could look at it and think it's getting a lot more, the new plugins are getting a lot more sort of attention than the hardware device. So they are absolutely updating it. I think the pace of updates might not be to everyone's liking or wishes, I think. And when you look at I've not actually gone through and really done the numbers on it. When you look at the updates that Fractal's received, that Helix has received in the same 4 year time span, um, my guess is that the updates the Quad Cortex has received is quite a lot less, in terms of what's been added and the general features and improvements and things. And bear in mind, that's still just getting to square one. So this is where so much of this sort of consternation and frustration comes from, is that there are still things that the quad cortex does not do that was promised it would do 4 years ago when it launched. And that's the crazy thing. um uh, so the plugins, running the plugins on it, was promised from the beginning, and still not there. There's two of them. They started in July, but they've got two of them running on it now, and we're still a long way off before all of the plugins will be running on it. So I think that's some of the sort of head scratching puzzlement over the development of it. They're absolutely updating it, and they're still saying they're committed to doing so, but um, the rate and pace and the priorities and choices that they're making is somewhat interesting. So as to how that relates to the nano cortex, it's a it's an open, I don't know, it's an open question at the moment. Like,
Where do you think it
it's
could go? Like the Nano.
I can tell you where I hope it goes, because it's lacking one or two really crucial things that prevent it from being one of my favorite devices. It's close to being one of my favorite devices. I'm really enjoying it, but it's missing. So it's got a fixed signal chain. It's got 7 effects. So it's got a noise gate, if you can call that an effect, a transposer for pitch shifting, which is a bit, like virtual capo type thing,
Hmm.
which is against a little odd choice. Then you've got the capture block to load in your amp capture, or your whatever your capture is. Could be an amp capture, it could be an amp and cab capture, it could be whatever. Then it's got an IR loader or cab block. Then it's got a chorus, one chorus effect, one analog delay effect, and one hall reverb effect. So there's 7 effect blocks, and they are fixed in that order. Um, and you build presets by adjusting the settings and loading those effect blocks up. Now, the thing that it's missing for me, the really crucial thing, is a compressor and a drive block. So I hope that that is fixed in terms of they can add at least a compressor, or a compressor and a drive block in the before the amp capture block. Um, yeah, that would be my hope as to where it goes, where it could go. I think what they are probably most likely to do is to give, before they do that, if they do that, is to give you more types of chorus, more types of reverb, more types of delays. That would be my guess, the low hanging fruit, because that's just increasing the quantity of stuff, of options for you to pick from, of what to use. It's not increasing the amount of stuff it has to do at one time, which is, if you add a core, if you add a compressor or a drive block, that would be increasing, probably the demand on the processing. Um, so that's where I would hope it goes, and where I think it probably will go. Anyway.
Fair,
But
fair.
when and how much they're going to do and when they'll do that is, um, uh, so our Brennan in the chat saying it's sad that a lot of Cortex owners I know are literally playing captures of the plugins. Yeah, and no, drive block is insane. A pitch shifter is so niche to metal players, which is a lot of their customer base, but definitely not all. Yeah, but that's a really interesting point, Brennan, in that, the pitch shifter thing is really useful for metal players, or, people wanting to drop down half a step. Absolutely. But so is Tube Screamer into a 5150. So, like, having no, having no drive block that seems like, well, yeah, if you're a, are you even neural DSP if you're not putting a tube screamer into your 5150 model? Like, that to me is a really peculiar thing that's left out. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it's a peculiar one. So you know, the other thing is I could potentially see a lot of bass players using this.
Oh
Bass
yeah.
players. A lot of bass players maybe aren't as kind of gearhead or pedal board heavy as guitar players, but you could totally do the bass player thing on this as like a one pedal all in one thing in terms of with the rig with the stuff it's got,
Mm-hmm.
except again for
A
compressor.
compressor.
Like I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
a lot of bass players want a compressor. So that's the thing. It's like this is almost the bass player's secret weapon. Like
Mm.
but it's also it's again it's almost like they've and there are bass models in there. So captures, should I say? So there are, I think there are five bass amp captures in there as stock, but no compressor block, and that's again that sort of stops it. It's just this kind of like really sort of obvious to me anyway, low hanging fruit stuff that would have taken it from a really good idea and a really good executed idea, which I think it is, to like a fantastic and amazing idea and amazing execution. Um, yeah, so that's the update on the Nano Cortex, and
Yeah, man. The video sounds
yeah,
great
I'm
when you're
gonna
using it.
yeah yeah cool. So thanks. So I was using it in what have I used it
Time
in?
Horse video.
It's just the Time Horse video. Yeah, Time Horse.
Although it
So
could
the
have just
Time
been
Horse
the Time
video.
Horse. That pedal could just be that good.
Oh yeah, it is. It's amazing. Yeah. So in the video, in the full video, I sort of show the different settings and that. And but so what I tried to do with in that video was to have a quite a clean pedal platform amp tone. So it's the Friedman on the low gain on the brown eye channel, but on the low gain structure set to around 5 or 6. So it's clean on the neck pickup when you play lightly, and on the bridge pickup, if you hit it, it's overdriven, breaking up a little bit. And then I tried to get all the rest of the gain. So almost all of the gain in that video is a showcase of the Time Horse drive. So um, certainly with the higher gain and the crunch and the lead sound, it's like mostly Time Horse, I think. So, but again, that's showing how well that the device is taking the pedal, and how the capture the Friedman is taking the pedal. So
Yeah, man.
it's really good. Yeah, it's
Bede's
really
video
good.
is now made with 90% horse.
And, well, yeah. Well, there's the I did think. Do you remember when PRS released some pedals about a year ago, or whatever? And was one called the Horse Meat.
Oh God, I don't know if I
Did you
don't think I
see it?
saw that. No,
Yeah,
I've seen like
they
wasn't
were
there like
not
these
that
strange like PRS amps as well for a little bit, like these little kind of
well.
fancy
Yeah,
looking heads or
exactly.
whatever.
So PRS amps are more successful, but they tried a range of pedals about a year. Maybe it wasn't a year ago, maybe it was less, but I think they were not that successful because they were blowing them out on Anderton's super cheap or giving them away free with an amp or something about a
Oh,
few months ago. But one of them, yeah, was called the Horse Meat, which I think it was probably a Clon thing, but Time Horse came first.
yeah, man. All hail the Time Horse.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Mm. And yeah, I'm just the HX Stomp's just sitting there, just updating. I think it's finished now, but I was just doing that update. So I'm gonna try and do in the. I'll take it down to the Premiere in and try and do a video on the update of the new Tonex. I'm so tired
The Helix
of the
stuff.
new HX Stomp
HX.
amps. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I need to do. I don't think I'm even on the. Before that, I don't even think I'm on the most current update either. But I need to. Yeah, I need to get on it.
I think they've done. I think they've took their foot off the gas maybe in the last year. I think because the update before that was a year ago. I think
Right. Okay.
and so I think there might be potentially there's some rumor, that or not rumors, but people are now speculating that they are winding up for something new. Um,
What a Helix
so
2
yeah. Well, I mean
or
that's the
whatever it is.
obvious thing, but
I can
um,
imagine something in between, like kind of in between the Stomp and the Helix, kind of quad cortex size. like that kind of middle ground
Yeah.
kind of thing, or if there's the technology to do basically what the Helix does, but better, but in a smaller form factor. That's usually the way things go, don't they?
Mm.
Like televisions, phones, you know,
Mm.
computers. So I can
Yeah.
imagine that's I can't imagine the Helix will just become obsolete. I imagine whatever comes next, all your presets and all that will probably be carried over. It will be backwards compatible, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, Brennan Cordy does have the. I think he started that anyway. I think he's probably he started that rumor.
God, he's out here stirring it up.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I mean, I would
I don't
imagine so
know.
anyway. I don't think they just completely abandon it as like you know old tech. I imagine it'll probably be able to move forward because a lot of people have invested a lot of, I say time. It's not really money because it's well. Although that is an interesting. If getting back to something that happened a few weeks back, if all the updates were paid updates and then they moved to a new platform, that's an interesting situation, isn't it? Because if it's not backwards compatible and you can't bring all the stuff you've bought already,
Mm.
it's a bit like, you know. Anyway, that's for another.
Yeah, it's like if they stop you using that, then yes. I think if it's always, if it's tied into something that actually shuts down, then that's a big deal. If you still have access to use the old thing, then they could argue,
Yeah.
well, you still can use what you paid for. Um, I guess it's that going back to the topic from previous, it's the sort of entitlement aspect of we've been trained to think that you buy a you buy a product once and then it's continually improved, and we've just been trained to think that's what happens via the last 15 years of fractal and then line 6. um but yeah, I don't know, and I think that the Helix has got some, it's perhaps a little bit long in the tooth now in terms of the amp side of things, but they've actually really just improved it. Still, I think they've gotten better and better and more. um the actual amp models they are adding to it, I think, get better. They overhauled the cab lock a couple of years ago, got a lot better. And I definitely think it stands still, holds up very well, and it's still a really fun device to play. Again, that's also very like it's almost the same size as the Nano Cortex. The Nano's a little, tiny bit smaller maybe, but they're very sort of similar in terms of, although their feature set is very different, the kind of use case is potentially very similar, um, just with focus on different technologies and the amount of stuff on offer. I honestly think that we will probably never see another device like the HX Stomp again. This one,
All right.
I think it offered too much, because the thing I think what a lot of people were pissed off about this was that I think people were expecting a a quad cortex in this size, basically the neural version of the HX Stomp.
Mm.
So what you know they're wanting like a cut down smaller version of the quad cortex, like the HX Stomp is a cut down version of the Helix, but it still offers everything the Helix has, but you can't do it all at once. And obviously, there's less switches and that's everything. But in some ways, that's kind of crazy. Everything that Line 6 had offered and gave people for such a cheap price with the HX Stomp is kind of mad, really. Um, I don't know if we're ever going to see another product like that where they give you everything that the flagship has in a small, tiny form factor, super cheap. You just can't run it all at once.
Mm.
So that's it's kind of mind blowing that that was ever the case, really. Um, I don't know. Nobody else has. I mean, kind of the FM3, but Fractal are just a price category above everybody else, so it's sort of hard to pass that out to clearly. But yeah, I'm trying to think of if anyone else has done that. Mm,
No, I don't think so.
not that I can. I don't know every device, but I think it's yeah, it's just. I think that's what a lot of people got so knocked about was because the expectation was like a dual cortex, where it does everything the quad does, but just not all at the same time, like so just half the
It's like a
power in a smaller form factor.
slightly compromised one. You know what I mean? Like
Basically,
a
yeah. So
halfway
instead of
house.
yeah, yeah. So that was, I think, the what people really wanted was okay. It's not a quad processor; it's a dual processor, and it can only run instead of 4 amps, it can only run 2 amps. But you still get all the amps, that sort of thing, all
Mm.
the effects, but you can't run all like 50 delays. You can only run whatever 10 delays or whatever it might this silly it might be. But they went completely different route with the Nano Cortex and like really totally completely different route and said no, we're going to let you actually do the full on capturing, which is a crazy headline feature, proper full capturing in a tiny, tiny pocket unit. But you're only going to get one delay and one reverb and no drive and no compressor. So that was the interesting choices that they've made.
Hmm.
Mm, yeah, but we'll see. I mean, other than that, I mean, I'm gonna take it down to the hotel near the hospital and try and you know keep putting it through its paces and um what is really really cool, and I think I mentioned this to you in Budapest, Dan, is like if you've got a sound you really love, like if you have a piece of gear that you love, like an out amp or something, then it does enable you, and this is why I'm sort of falling in love with captures to a certain extent. It does allow you to get that sound just on the go in a smaller
Mm.
factory, take it wherever you want. So it was kind of like taking, the brown eye over on the plane. It's like having that sound just um in in your apartment in halfway across the world. It's amazing, really, that that's possible. The downside is, sorry, one thing I'd not mentioned with this is that it doesn't. It only comes with 25 captures built in, like as factory stock. Now you can add as many as you like. Well, it's 250 something on it yourself, and in theory, there's thousands of free ones on the Cortex Cloud, but I think largely that you're kind of at the mercy of um, and sort of the kindness of people like making captures and loading them up there for free. There's not really a thriving marketplace of professional premium captures for the Quad Cortex ecosystem. Um, Either first party, Neural don't offer it at all, or third party. So uh, there's a few people trying to do it, but it's a very cumbersome workaround, as I've been discovering, to trying to do it, for myself to make and sell captures. It's not easy by any means to do. So I think the actual ecosystem is suffers for it. So if you don't have really great gear already, so let's say you don't have amps that you love or whatever, then you're it's kind of like it comes with 25, 20 of them are guitar amps, five of them are bass amps. And of those 20, they are not certainly not bad. There's some really cool stuff, but it feels like it's just a little bit slim
Mm.
pickings. So that would be where, something like the HX Stomp would potentially be more perceived as much better value or much more interesting. Um, but that was the only other thing I'd forgotten to say is that uh, you know, stock out the box. It's got some good sounds, but it's really quite limited in comparison um, to other devices. Mm. You'd have to either make the sounds yourself, make the captures yourself, or find them somehow on. Yeah. Mm.
Weirdly, I just got an email from your DSP while you while we were talking about that.
Is it advertising their Black Friday by any chance?
Yeah, it's like 2024 recap and Black Friday.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just got that just before we went live. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they're listening.
Yeah. Well, I think they did. Uh, I think they had emailed a couple of times about potentially doing some podcast chat, but I think it was more of like the sort of the marketing kind of thing, in terms of like
It's just a
doing
bit
a
more of a sort of scripted marketing
promotional.
interview rather than an actual chat.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's just my assumption. It might
Mm.
not be, but yeah. I mean, it would be nice to sort of chat to them, but I don't know whether they, I don't know whether they want to even some of the criticisms, but
Well, the thing is,
yeah,
it's strange, that isn't it? Because like I see this now and again with people that are involved in certain things, and if there's any sort of hint of any kind of criticism or feedback, they get a bit kind of uh, they feel some kind of way about it. I'm thinking, well,
I
if you,
get it. You know,
I mean, I get it, but at
I
the
sort
same
of get it.
time, if you're going to
It's a
be in that
business, isn't it?
position,
It's a
yeah, if you're going
business.
to be in that
Yeah,
position, though, you should want to listen to the people that are out there on the streets that are using these things or doing it.
yeah.
Surely the feedback is
I,
useful. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it depends on your the type of business you are, the kind of. I don't know. I mean, it's not for me to tell anyone how to run their business.
Mm.
I just can only know from a, I can just only know from a personal perspective of what the kind of, like, for example, I don't want to, we used to have quite a lot of guests on the show, etc. And, I feel like we were always respectful of people, but we'd have a good chat and a good
Yeah, I mean, this has
push
been
on
how long
push
has
on
this been going on
things.
now for? Like,
Uh,
God knows how many years it
yeah, a
is.
long time. Even
But
well, just
we've
as the
never. I don't think we've ever had a guest where we've not had one of those viral podcast moments where somebody gets really annoyed and storms off.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we should create one. We'll get like a we'll
just
get
for the
Benella on and
virality.
pay him off and be like, right, this minute, at
Like
minute 37, I'm gonna say this and you're gonna take it really badly. You're
it's
gonna
gonna like just
smash up a fake
throw the
sir on.
SM7B across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I didn't want to do was to, like sort of get sort of the neural guys on and then just either and then do like what basically a glorified advertisement.
Hmm.
Or I certainly didn't want to do that because we've never done that in terms of the pod being, always quite proudly kind of honest and neutral, I think. And or
Yeah.
on the other hand, not wanting to just then start just kind of asking awkward questions that they don't want to, don't want to really want to answer. So as from a business perspective, I totally get that. So sometimes these things are just not, potentially not the right fit, but you never know, it might change. If they people that send us emails, because you always get these emails to podcasts when you run a podcast, people saying, we are big fans of your show and would love to get our person on to talk to you, etc. So so this is a test, isn't it? So if the neural guys or neurals organizers do listen to this and still want to Doug and whoever to come and chat, um, send us an email. And then we'll know if you've listened to this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Should we?
What you got on?
Oh, me.
I was just going to say,
I've
what
got
you
an
got on the rest of
empty.
the week?
I've
Well,
actually.
you tonight,
Actually. Oh yeah, I was supposed to have a gig tonight. I was supposed to have a bass gig, but
yeah.
I couldn't. I. It's not necessarily that I couldn't get out of because officially I hadn't actually said yes, but I, I will do it if no one else can do it. Because it just I live in between the guy who's doing whose gig it is and the venue, so he just can just swing by and get me. And I say I know all the songs. I do, but they're not like I don't play the bass gig every single week, so I don't really know. But I'm supposed to have a gig tonight, and then I couldn't get out of it because I've got to do some teaching tomorrow. So I was like, oh man, it might be pushing it a bit. Is there anyone else that can do it? And then he couldn't find anyone. I was like, right, okay, I'll do it. And then I got a text saying, oh, they've cancelled the gig, but apparently they're still paying us. So it's like, sweet.
Get in.
That
I
almost
mean,
never happens.
that is what we call it. Say is all coming up Millhouse, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
man. It's a Patagonia, pretty much.
mm,
Um,
sweet. Yeah.
So yeah, it was that. But I've actually got I've actually got no gigs this weekend as it currently stands. Say that things are
Me neither
always
now.
always subject to change, But I might try and get some backlog sorted for this mythical Patreon that may or may not happen, and make some stuff. Since I've got the time, which is nice.
Yeah, that's yeah. I had a couple of tree fiddies get
What
wrenched
cancelled
out
though?
for well, just depping out so I
Oh,
can do the family thing this weekend.
which is the right
But
choice,
hopefully this
obviously.
exactly. Hopefully this time next week, things will be all all good and yeah, back to normal. So and maybe I'll have cranked out several Lenny Henry
Several jams
premiering
with Lenny Henry.
videos. Yeah. Yeah, so I've not got any gigs for a little bit now because of that. So there's this weekend's been changed, and then again, it'll be Christmas season. So yeah, I've got 2, 3 the first week of December.
My December's quite quiet, man. Oh, I say that. I've got one. Well, hang on, let me look. I've got one next week, and then I've got like one next week, one the week after. I've got one on my birthday, which is interesting.
Birthday gigs.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice because it takes the pressure off of having to like do something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, sorry, I'm working.
Oh man,
it's kind of why I like New Year's Eve gigs. So I don't have to worry about it. It's like, oh well,
I used to do that, but I've not done a New Year's Eve gig in a little while now. In fact, it's just another one of those things where I try to in fact, what is it? Mike, the solo engineer, coder
Oh yeah.
for the app, he's coming over with his family for Christmas, and
Oh yeah,
so I'm going to try and have a bit of see them a little bit and see the family, and so yeah, I think I've got last gigs on the 21st of December, and then there's just nothing then, and it's just resisted the temptations for New Year's Eve. So
no one's waggled the fiery biscuits at me for a New Year's Eve gig yet. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Well, do you want me to? Said I'd never do this, but if any more come my way, do you want me to send your number on?
Well, yeah, you'll speak to me first. Let me just say it.
Yeah, you can't blame me if it's
sold the scene.
Sold, yeah. Dept has seen.
Dept has seen.
Yeah.
This gig's got an oil leak. It's got a faulty indicator. Anyway,
nice one.
If you made it this far, comment "Dept as seen."
yeah. Dept as seen in the comments. Cool. Yeah, I need to go and do some packing and
yeah, man.
Yeah, go on Leicester 4 days at Leicester Hospital.
Yeah, I hope that all
times
goes as well as it can go.
Yep, fingers crossed.
We'll see. See what happens.
Yeah, updates. All right, nice one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching
everyone.
Live.
Oh,
we did a double thanks.
Yeah,
thanks to everybody that caught this live. If you're catching it on the replay, thank you to you as well. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Ciao.
Thanks, everyone.